Hello friends, for today's video we're going to be going through some April fantasy book releases as well as news, headlines, and announcements, and at the end we'll be jumping into some features including an underhyped book, an artist, as well as a good cause. As always, there will be timestamps that you can bounce around to any one specific section or reference back to it. And then one additional thing that I'm going to be incorporating this month and in future months as we progress is something to do with the audiobook service Libro FM. A quick heads up, this is not an ad for Libro FM, but it's going to sound like it as I explain it. It is relevant to the releases, and also some of you are going to be very happy to know about this. So with Libro FM, if you don't know what it is an audiobook subscription service that is a good alternative to Audible, as an example. It costs roughly the same amount, it's comparable in that way, but then also on Libro FM, you can attach it to local bookstores. If you have an indie bookstore in your area, you can check and see if they are attached to Libro FM so that anytime you get an audiobook, it's like you're purchasing something from your indie bookstore. An additional perk for reviewers like myself, and I know for many of you, is that if you sign up for their influencer program, which you don't even have to be somebody that has a big account or anything like that, just pretty much if you review books, you can try to enter into this. And then from there, at the beginning of every single month, they have a huge collection of new releases. You can see where this is getting to be relevant to today, but they have a whole section of new releases of the month, and you can download up to 10 of those for free, as long as you are somebody who has entered into their influencer program. So if that sounds like something that would be helpful to you, what I'm going to do as I go through the releases for the month is if one of them is available from Libro FM, I will have an icon on the screen. I will also mention it today verbally, and as we move forward I'll probably continuously say it, but if ever I don't say it and you just see the Libro FM icon on the screen, or maybe I record this before the beginning of the month and they haven't released what is available for that upcoming month, then I might have to insert it later and thus wouldn't say it verbally, but regardless, you'll know what that icon is for. I figure for those of you who like audiobooks, this would be helpful to know as we go through the new releases. On the note of new releases, let's go ahead and finally jump into it. I'm actually going to start with the sequels of the month, and then I'll segue into all the other releases that are first in series, standalones, those sorts of things. So we have 3 that might be of interest to all of you. One of them is Piper at the Gates of Dusk, and this is a new Patrick Ness novel. It's the first book in what is called the New World trilogy, and it's a return to the Chaos Walking universe. It happens 20 years after the original series. That is all I'm going to say, because just a tiny quick glance. It starts to reveal things that occur at the end of the other series, and this is one where I thought about including it in the regular releases section rather than sequels, but I do feel like continuation series, sometimes it seems as though they're dependent on you having read the other thing, and I figured this was better suited under the sequels category. The release date for that is April 7th, and this one is actually available on Libro FM for the free downloads if you are interested in it. And then the other 2 we have for that month, we have Faith of Beasts scheduled for the 14th, as well as The Tempest Blade being the final book in Danielle Jensen's Bridge Kingdom series, or you could think of it as the second book in the 3rd duology. Switching now into our regular releases, I am including a few that are more speculative or horror leaning this month. As just fantasy, there wasn't as much as I tend to find from one given month to the next. I think the summer months this year are going to be filled with a lot of great releases, and there seems to be a lot of buzz about things that are going to be coming out at the end of the year, October, November. But for April, not quite as much. And some of the horror books still do, in my opinion, feel as though they're including aspects to them that feel somewhat fantasy leaning. So hopefully some of these sound interesting to you. The first one would be Serafina, also available on Libro FM, and it says it's a historical horror novel about 3 Confederate brothers who desert the Civil War and find a seemingly idyllic homestead with a woman named Serafina and her son, only to discover a supernatural evil lurking beneath the surface. It blends historical fiction with folklore, witchcraft, and cosmic horror, exploring themes of brotherhood, faith, and duty as the brothers face horrors far worse than the war. The next book is so drastically different from that, though. It would be The Book Witch. The author of this book, Meg Schaefer, I've read 2 of their books. One of them that was more contemporary leaning, and it was kind of like a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory feeling to it. And it was very cute, and it was very wholesome. I quite liked it, but I do think it leaned pretty hard on the cute factor, so your mileage will vary, which is the case with a lot of cute, cozy, wholesome sorts of stories. The other one that was actually more fantasy leaning, I liked less. I really liked the themes within the story, and that's something that's been true so far with both of the books I've read by this author. I liked the themes a lot. But the second one, it just didn't quite hit as hard as I felt it could have. But, of course, I still think that it's going to vary from person to person. If any of them sound interesting to you, I would say give them a try. I didn't absolutely loathe any of them or anything like that. Regardless, this new novel, The Book Witch, it would seem is incorporating fantasy elements once again. So it says it's about Rainy March, a book witch who travels into books with her magical umbrella and feline familiar to fix corrupted stories and rogue characters, following a strict code that forbids falling in love with fictional people. When her grandfather disappears and a priceless book is stolen, she must team up with her favorite fictional detective, the Duke of Chicago, to solve the mystery, leading them through classic literary worlds like Alice in Wonderland and King Arthur. With this one, my only concern, because it does seem like it's a love letter to books and reading and whimsy, my concern with books like this is sometimes I feel myself resisting anything that feels as though it's a love letter to readers because it almost feels like it's an easy way to get us. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like low-hanging fruit, like of course the reader's gonna love a story about books, you know, that kind of thing. I'm always hesitant about books, and sometimes I am very greatly pleased with how they turn out, and other times I'm like, I don't know, and it almost can feel gimmicky. I'm not saying that this author is just trying to trick us or anything like that. I'm saying for my own personal tastes, they sometimes work and sometimes don't. So we'll see with this one. I've liked one of their works. One of them, as noted, I liked the themes, but I didn't love the book. So this one, I'll have to wait and find out. The next one is Year of the Mer, and it's a dark, epic fantasy retelling of The Little Mermaid, focusing on Ariel's granddaughter, Yemi, who seeks vengeance for her family's downfall by making a deal with the sea witch, Ursula. It does look to be, at the very least, the first in a duology rather than a standalone. Just a heads up, because sometimes with books like that, can be kind of difficult to tell. Moving now, though, to the 14th. Those were all for the 7th. We have Daughter of the Wind, the first book in the Riders of the Earth and Sky trilogy, and it follows a princess named Zara who discovers she has wind magic, a power that threatens her bond with her horse. She agrees to marry her enemy to save her people, only to find a deeper conspiracy at the enemy's palace. The story follows her as she navigates this new power, a political marriage, and a forbidden attraction to Commander Talon, who is sworn to protect her, but may be key to stopping the Emperor's dark plans. Next up, we have Japanese Gothic. The description for this one sounds amazing. I really hope that it does its premise well, because it definitely sounds like it's taking some chances and it's doing something a little bit different, but I really like the concept. It says it's a dual timeline horror novel blending historical fiction, Japanese mythology, and Gothic elements, following a modern-day college student and a 19th century female samurai connected by a haunted house in Japan. That sounds great. I think that sounds awesome and unique and different, and I really, really hope that I like it. I've wanted to read something by this author for a bit, as I've actually heard quite good things. I've just not had the chance yet, so maybe this will be the one. Switching now to another release, we have Stay for a Spell. This one says that it's a cozy romantic fantasy about Princess Tanadel, who is cursed to stay in a rundown bookshop, doesn't sound like much of a curse to me, until she discovers her heart's desire. Apparently there's also a magical cat in the story, which, of course, there's a magical cat. Next up, we have West of Wicked. I will say, I think that the retelling craze that was occurring, it felt like over the last maybe 5 to 10 years, it seems like it's settled down a little bit. So when I do see retellings now, I don't find myself instantly like, oh, another one. And also, I think the things that we're starting to do retellings of are not the same stories over and over again, because I think that was another problem too, is we were getting very similar retellings all at once. But we do have another retelling today, West of Wicked, and this one, it says it's a dark adult retelling of The Wizard of Oz, the first book in the Great and Terrible Land series, featuring a more mature and dangerous version of Oz, where Dorothy seeks a way home, encountering morally gray versions of Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Lion, and discovering dark secrets about her own past. For the 21st and the 28th, we only have one book for each of those days, one of them being Witch Queen Rising. It's a dark Southern Gothic fantasy debut about Seraphine Baru, a reclusive witch in New Orleans who is unexpectedly forced to become the prime, or the ruler, of her people after her mother's death. She must navigate political intrigue with vampires, werewolves, and other supernatural factions, confront a parasitic curse, and deal with her own past as a powerful outcast known as the Tick Witch for her ability to steal magic. It is the first in a duology also, and I think it sounds pretty cool. I do think we're starting to see more, or at least maybe I'm just thinking of a resistance of witches. I do think we're starting to see a little bit more of New Orleans witchcraft in some of our fantasy stories, which I like too, because that's usually an indication that the setting itself isn't going to feel like a rinse and repeat sort of setting that we're all really familiar with. It feels like we're branching out and starting to explore different parts of history as inspiration for our fantasy settings, which I think is really cool. And then last for today, we have an arcane study of stars. This is the one projected for the 28th. And it says it's a dark academia fantasy about a young woman who makes a deal with a demon to get into the magical Cygnus University after being rejected. In exchange for his freedom from a prison of stars, she must study the constellations to learn how to release him, all while navigating a rival to lovers romance with a fellow student and uncovering dark secrets at the university. That's it for the releases for April. If I missed anything, of course, feel free to mention it in the comments. I really appreciate that. I don't feel like I'm being corrected or anything. I think it's not only helpful for me, but helpful for anybody who comes to this video looking for speculative releases of the month. Beyond that, though, I will ensure that all of the projected release dates and pre-order links are in that pinned comment. All of that said, we do have a lot of book announcements to get to. There was a lot of news recently. And then we have a few things from video games, manga, and anime that I want to mention, so we'll go ahead and segue into that. The first thing I want to mention is kind of a hybrid of all these announcements, as it's somewhat related to video games and it's also related to books, and that would be the fact that the Expedition 33 art book is now available for pre-order. It looks absolutely gorgeous. If you, like many people, including me, were a big fan of Expedition 33 and were blown away by the artistic vision that was that story, and also just visually, then you're probably, maybe anyway, excited about this art book. I can't wait. I've been trying to get more into art books just because I actually feel like there is so much artistry behind not only video games, but a lot of things. I recently got the art book for Witch Hat Atelier, which, oh my gosh, of course that's going to be gorgeous because the art in Witch Hat Atelier is beautiful. But I can't wait for this. Just the book alone looks gorgeous, and then seeing some sneak peeks of what's going to be within it, I am ecstatic, which should indicate to you that I did indeed pre-order it. I'm so excited about it, but I figured some of you might be interested in it as well. I do want to just go from this into some other video game stuff. Not as much to say this month. There haven't been, state of play style announcements necessarily. So I'm more so going to be revisiting and following up on some of the video game things from the last couple of months. So last month I mentioned being very excited for Crimson Desert, as well as being very excited for Ghost of Yotei Legends. And I have been very much enjoying Ghost of Yotei Legends. I will say I don't disagree with a lot of people that the archer class is way overpowered. I happen to play as an archer, but I will say I recognize that how some archers play is not fun to play with at all, and I do not play like those people, and I still outperform them. So it's possible, you can play as an archer and not be a total tool. It can be a fun experience. Don't be that archer that just steals all the kills and you never help revive anybody, or you never help ensure that the circle is covered if you're playing in survival mode. Don't be that archer. And that's not me. I don't play like that. It's been a blast though. I've been really enjoying it. When I first started it, I was like, whoa, this is a little overwhelming. And I do think there's a couple things I missed between Ghost of Yotei Legends versus Tsushima Legends. I miss the explosive barrels, I will say. I also don't love having to run and pick up Magatama. I don't love that change. Also, I do think that Tsushima Legends, the enemies were more distinct, and in this one, they're not always as distinct. I feel definitely that I've picked up on the differences in the designs and thus their abilities, but I do miss some of the distinction there. But otherwise, I'm having a great time. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's pretty smooth for the most part, and I I'm enjoying it, and I am looking forward to trying to upgrade the other classes. If you haven't played Ghost, either Tsushima or Yotei, both are great. Legends mode is a lot of fun in both. Highly recommend. Crimson Desert, I don't highly recommend, unfortunately. I'm still really devastated about this. I've been looking forward to this game, I'm pretty sure for years at this point. Over on my side channel, where I more so talk about manga, video games, anime, other stories on other mediums, I did a video talking about my upcoming video games that I was excited about, and this one was once again on there. I couldn't wait. It was coming out on my birthday. I was like, oh, lucky me. And I got it, and it's the most disappointed I've been in a game since Forspoken. I'm quite bummed about it, but you might enjoy it depending on what you're looking for in your games. And I say that with even an asterisk, though, because even still, I don't think what it's offering is even the best version of that. So Crimson Desert, at its core, is a massive exploration-heavy game. And I like games like that. I love a good story. I don't need a good story, though. I love a beautiful open world. I want, though, to enjoy the exploration part of it. And in this game, the controls aren't very good. Some of the exploration, when I say it's not the best version of it, I'll give an example that's going to be very random. In Red Dead Redemption 2, if you do something wild, because that's part of the fun of an exploration-heavy game, of just like, let's see what I can do, and also how do NPCs react when I do these things, that kind of stuff. That's part of the fun of having a huge world, is that feeling of I can derp around, I can do anything, I can be a menace, and also I can try to be a hero, and we'll see how things go from here. And in Red Dead Redemption 2, people will do absolutely crazy things. And as an example, if he were to have somebody hog-tied, because that's a thing you can do in Red Dead Redemption, and you're like carrying them around, and someone comes up to you, they'll be like, what the? And then they'll freak out and they'll run away, and then your bounty will go up if they report you, and you're like, do I chase them down, or do I just deal with it? Or so there's repercussions to your actions. And in Crimson Desert, it just, even though there's so much to do and it's so full, it in some ways almost feels empty. As I'm describing this, it sounds really morbid, but once again, there was a body. Oh, what happens if the character is just carrying this body around? Nothing. He was just having a conversation with some guy that's like, I love farming. And you're like, nobody cares that we're carrying, in this instance, I think it was a dead body. Nobody cares that we're carrying a dead body around. Like, nothing. The biggest thing is that you can pick up cats and you can tame horses, and I'm like, I think it's kind of a cozy game, if anything, which is totally fine. But there are other cozy games, if I want a cozy game, that I would rather play, and I'm not actually that into cozy games. But anyway, so the controls aren't great. If we are going to talk about the writing is one thing that I think almost everyone can agree is horrendous. The writing is terrible for this game. You are told to go do something for no rhyme or reason, and then you're told to do something else. So the very beginning of the game, you die, and then you come back to life, and the main character doesn't have any thoughts about this. He is the most empty-headed just entity to ever exist on the screen. So he just derps around and is basically like, I gotta get going, even though he just was resurrected for what reason he doesn't know. And then you're told, go talk to some beggar. And I am not exaggerating, by the way, when I give you this play-by-play. You're told to go talk to some beggar, and you go give them a coin, and then he's like, thank you, and he stands up and he just mysteriously disappears. And then it's like, go help this lady in the sewers. And you're like, why? So you go down and you help this lady in the sewers, and she's like, thank you for helping me, and then she just disappears. And then you also are told to go help these people clean a chimney, and then you're like, okay, so you go help these people clean a chimney, which to me felt like it was trying to do the did you find me, Pan, from Witcher 3? That's what it felt like. So you go help these people clean their chimney, and then the couple is arguing, and she's like, that's a real man, by the way. See, he'll clean the chimney. And he's like, come on, man, give me a break. You're making me look bad. Ha 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 ha. A lot of people have talked about how once you get past all this and you can just explore, it's more fun. But I have high standards for exploration-heavy games. I really like Elden Ring. I really like Witcher. And I don't think this game comes close, and I would rather go play Elden Ring again or play Witcher again. However, if you do just love a sandbox, this game may work for you. I'm just sad because I was so hyped, and I've been hyped for years, and I've been talking about it, and I thought I would follow up and let you know that I don't think it was, it certainly didn't meet my expectations. Quick anime news, and then we'll get into our book announcements, as there is a lot. So, Frieren Season 3 has been announced, and it is going to be scheduled for October 2027. Season 2 was quite short. I thought Season 2 was going to primarily focus on the arc that they are going to be focusing on Season 3, so I was incorrect about that. And I'm a little bummed because I'm like, oh, my favorite arc, I can't wait. And now I have to wait until 2027, which is totally fine. I have very much been enjoying what they're doing with Season 2. I like the really slow pace. I think it's very fitting for Frieren. If you're interested in more of my Frieren thoughts, I'll have my playlist from my side channel link. If you haven't read the manga, though, and you don't know about this next arc, get ready. It is fantastic. I'm so excited that they are going to focus so much of the third season on that arc. Also, we have some adaptation news, which would be for Monstrous. The art in Monstrous is absolutely gorgeous, next to none. The color use, the intricacy, it is fantastic. It's beautiful. And it is looking like the people in charge of it are people that a lot of individuals within fantasy circles are pleased by, because I'm not a One Piece person, but the person who was in charge of the live action One Piece that has been pretty favorably received, this individual is also in charge of, it would seem, the adaptation for Monstrous. And it's going to be an animated adaptation, which I think is the right call here. And also it is going to be through MGM Studios. High hopes for this one. Fingers crossed that it's going to be fantastic. And speaking of things that are going to be fantastic, I warned you last month that I would once again bring up Witch Hat, and I will try to keep it brief. I know I'm being insufferable with my love of Witch Hat. It's just so good, is the thing. And also, since last month, hold on, I should get to the thing that is relevant. So it comes out April 6th, which is very soon. And I believe that first day they're going to be releasing 2 episodes, which is very exciting. And also, for those of you who do prefer dub over sub, they are actually going to have an English release as well. They have a trailer for that, so if you are interested in that, you can check that out. I will say I am more of a sub person on average, and I will be watching the sub for this one as well. But it does seem like they put in quite a bit of effort into finding some really fantastic voice actors for the dub, and that makes me very happy, because I know that for various reasons people have their preferences, and it does seem like these voice actors are really putting their all into this. So that makes me very happy. And I do like some of them. Orugio, I think the voice actor feels quite fitting. And Richa, I think her voice actor seems perfect. I think hers the most. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's great. But I think Kifuri, the Japanese voice actor, just captures so well how I hear him. So I'm going to be watching it, and maybe someday I'll watch the English too, just because I wouldn't be surprised if I rewatch it again after I watch it, or like while I'm waiting for the next episode. I'm like, well, what if I watch it again but in English? I don't know. So regardless, I'm going to get now to the thing that I was like, well, I have more to say. So many of you know I'm a huge fan of the series. I've been a huge fan of this series. It's not completed, so I've been progressively getting through it, and I'm all caught up. And that is the new thing I have to say. I'm all caught up. And what I mean by this is that I use the app K Manga, which is kind of like Shonen Jump. It's a little different in how it's structured, but I used K Manga to get caught up, because the way it works, if you're not a manga person and you don't know, sometimes they will release things by chapter, and then once a certain amount of chapters are out and other things are situated, then they will have those come together and they'll release the physical copies. And in the meantime, you can only read what's out through reading those chapters. It's not like they have ebooks for just a single chapter kind of thing. So I went ahead and got that app, and I got caught up. And I'm miserable because no one I know is caught up, and everything that happens in the 80s, chapters 80 through 94, everything that happens is so devastating. There are so many reveals, and I need to talk to someone about it. I've been very insufferable with my friends. If you are a friend of mine at this point, and you're even somewhat of an anime watcher or manga reader, I am messaging you and I'm telling you, like, oh my gosh. And I'm really hitting home that I think a lot of you will love this series, because I know you will, because it's so good. Everything you can want out of fantasy. It has that whimsy, it has the creativity, the uniqueness. It takes you back to that awe you had when you were young toward fantasy, the thing that made us fall in love with it. And then from there, it starts to have little pieces of things that are intriguing. Then it has some very consequential questions that arise that make you look around within their own society, but then also you reflect on our society. And there's these really deep themes baked in that initially you were like, oh, I thought this was just going to be like a cute, whimsical story. And now it's getting really heavy and having a lot of implications. And also what's going on with some of these characters. And then you keep reading, and this newest part, I'm just like, this is just it's so tragic, and I need someone else to read it. I really need to talk to someone. So anyway, I told you guys last month that I was going to bring it up again. However, I did not expect, after getting caught up, that I was going to be in such a state. This is painful. It's painful. I am very grateful because my husband is going to try to get caught up soon. And then maybe I will stop being so annoying because I'll at least have him to talk to. But in the meantime, yeah, we'll see. Anyway, watch the anime. It comes out on April 6th. 7 a.m. PST is when you can watch it. Japanese or English. Pick your poison. Okay, book announcements. There's a lot of things to get through. There's a lot of special editions, cover reveals, all those sorts of things. The first thing I want to mention, I didn't have it in the release section because technically it came out on March 31st. So I'm going to mention that here, and that would be the sequel to Dragon Mage, which is called Champion of the Fallen. Dragon Mage, very underhyped. Absolutely loved it when I picked it up. It is one of the best, not just fantasy books I read last year, but it's also a self-pub fantasy book, and it was phenomenal. Really greatly enjoyed it. I think a lot of you will really love it too, and there is such a great friendship in the story. So if you're looking for that classic friendship, cool, epic fantasy world, this one's got it, and I can't wait for the sequel. Really excited for the author. They kind of just dropped it out of nowhere, and I am ecstatic for them and for myself, so I can get around to this. From there, we have a lot of editions. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, but I'm going to have relevant information in the pinned comment that I keep referencing. So we have special editions that you can pre-order now for Project Hail Mary, as well as The Martian. I know a lot of people love this series. I know more people are getting into it with the movie that was just released. So if that's something you're interested in, these editions do look quite beautiful. We have a new special edition for Once Upon a Broken Heart. There are many at this point, and once again, this one does look gorgeous. Babel is getting another edition. Never hurts to have artists have more opportunities, so I am really excited for the artists that are getting more opportunities as a result of all of these special editions. But Babel is another one. We also have a Dungeon Crawler Carl special edition. For those of you who are big fans of that series, I have yet to check it out, but I plan to this year. Heartless also has a really beautiful edition for those of you that are big fans of that. That came out quite a while ago, so this one feels a little bit more like it makes sense to see, oh, okay, maybe like an anniversary edition sort of thing for this one. Queen of Nothing, we are getting an edition for that. This series does have some of the most gorgeous editions, and these ones are collector's editions that have come out, and they have slipcases as well if you are a fan of that additional protection. We also have some things that recently were mentioned from Fairy Loot. So we have Divergent. They are doing an edition of that series, as well as Kindred's Curse. Also The Broken Binding, they released some of their artwork for The Last Contract of Isako. I'm really hopeful and excited about this one, and the art is stunning. It's beautiful. And then Illumicrate. Illumicrate has had some not only beautiful editions coming out lately, but some for series that I've been really excited about. So they're doing the Cadence duology, the first being A River Enchanted, absolutely stunning artwork, the Protector of the Small series. So they are continuing on with the Pierce Love over at Illumicrate. The Alana series is exquisite. It brought me so much joy because that was a big part of my childhood reading, and I'm excited to see they're continuing on with those. So as noted, a lot of special editions. Then we just have some news for books, which is great. So John Gwynne has The Wolves of War. It would seem this one is going to be Slavic inspired. No cover at the time that I am chatting with all of you about all this, but I'm sure the cover to come is going to be epic and out of this world. The Eye of the Leviathan by M.A. Carrick. And M.A. Carrick, I believe, is actually an author duo. Excited to see that they are coming together again. We have a UK cover reveal for The Infinite State by Richard Swan. Typically, I think of Richard Swan in association with Eldritch Horror, and they are releasing a sci-fi story, so I'm very interested in that one as well. Rebecca Ross, once again returning, because I mentioned her for Illumicrate, an announcement for A Bittersweet Spell. So if you didn't know, there is another Rebecca Ross work in the works. And then Shannon Chakraborty, who wrote one of my favorite series of all time, the Daevabad trilogy, which, by the way, the first time I read it, I DNF'd the series with plans that maybe I would revisit it. When I revisited it, I loved it, adored it, devoured the whole trilogy. It was, every time I came back to it, I was like, I don't want to read anything else. I just want to keep reading this. And I'm so excited because they got a 2-book deal signed recently. So we'll be definitely getting sometime in the next few years 2 more books by Shannon Chakraborty. And now for our features. So we'll be going through a book that I feel is a little bit underhyped and wanted to give you all a heads up about. And then we'll mention an artist as well as a good cause. Starting with our underhyped book, I thought I'd go ahead and focus on Dragon Mage, given the sequel news. I mentioned it earlier, but if you're looking for a more formal synopsis, it's an epic fantasy novel about Aram Wraith, a misfit from a small village who discovers he has powerful ancient magic and is destined to become a dragon rider and champion against a rising dark god. For our artist, we have Kat. Tying this back to some of our news, Kat has beautiful Freeran and Witch Hat art, as well as art from Zelda, Storm My Archive, Girl from the Other Side, and more. She's incredibly nice as well. Definitely give her a follow, buy some of her prints, or just give her some support in general. And as for our good cause today, I wanted to mention Helen Keller International. It's an organization that helps children and families in 20 countries across Asia, Africa, Europe, and the United States grow and eat nutritious food, stave off malnutrition, build strong immune systems, access life-saving medical treatments, and prevent and treat blindness and vision loss. That's it though for some releases, announcements, and features. If I left anything out that you would like to include, or if you want to chime in about anything, feel free to do so in the comments down below. Also, has anyone read Witch Hat? Oh, come on, please someone. But anywho, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.